Hey guys, it's Turok, and today I'll be doing my review of Godzilla and Kong: The New Empire, or is that what it's called? Yeah, something like that. And then the latest one of the uh, American Monsterverse movies that started. Actually, I just realized this is the 10th year from the first movie's release, and we've had now what, one, two, three, four, five movies. Pretty good, all considering. And funny enough, I like that this has been going on that long. I just realized because we've had the Star Wars movies come out just a year later after they start doing the new stuff throughout Disney, and I think Godzilla's doing a lot better overall. They're not making billions of dollars like individually, that is, by like the Star Wars movies, but they're doing really well. And this movie's good too. Get it out there. There's be spoilers ahead in this video, covering the whole thing more or less. I don't know how long this movie video will be, but uh, I have a couple problems with it. But one is just minor with the story. The other one will just be, I guess I'm gonna get out there now. Like I said, spoilers. Yeah, I'm gonna slow down. My only real complaint with this after the last one is that the fight scenes toward the end are somewhat shorter. The last one really set a high bar when Godzilla and Kong's fight, and then them teaming up against Mechagodzilla. The fight here at the end it felt a little shorter comparatively. So I just had that to kind of get out there, and that. So as far as the movies go, this one I would rate as like, about the same as King of the Monsters and Kong Skull Island as far as good fight scenes. Actually, Kong Skull Island might be a little higher too. Oh, and I had a really good scene with him and that big skull crusher at the end. Uh, so Kong Godzilla, the 2021 one, as far as these movies go, still stands as the benchmark that I like best as far as the action goes. But I will say that this one improved upon with the story. I felt more invested in this now. I hear some critics about this movies in general that the hollow characters are pretty hollow, and I disagree with this one. As far as this one goes, this was definitely the best one. As far as how else I got pulled up? As far as the characters and make me feel about what's going to happen, we have recurring characters in this one from the last movie, except for the character played by Millie Bobby Brown, and then her father. I was disappointed her father couldn't show up again. He had his best scenes were in the King of the Monsters, and then he showed up only a little bit in the last one. Um, this instead, I gotta get the characters' names up because I've watched this twice. I still don't remember any of the characters' names except the little girl. I think her from the Iwi tribe. I think her name's uh what's her name again? I just pull this up. One moment. So we have yeah, Jaya. So this one focuses on Jaya and her mother, Dr. Andrews, her adopted mother, and so yeah, I'm getting into this now. So I'm going to start over going over the plot a little bit and how I think about this stuff. And you have to bear with me. I'm not very good at doing these reviews, so I'll try and keep it concise. We'll see how I can do. Got to practice with this. So this one focuses on Kong more than Godzilla, and as well as, like I said, the human characters Dr. Andrews and Jaya, her adopted daughter, who's one of the Iwi tribe members that is the only surviving member of the tribe that was located on Skull Island. So from Cleopatra. Ghidorah destroyed it in the last movie, and now she's in here going to school and stuff while what actually is going on with Andrews? I forget some of the beginning. So Dr. Andrews is now acting as it's kind of taken over from Dr. Sarah Waza. Now I'm saying that name wrong. Sorry, I can't get his name right. That Ken Wanabe. One of see, I'm doing say about some names today. His character died in King of the Monsters, and I don't think they never showed him and Dr. Andrews meet. Dr. Andrews we saw was introduced in Skull Island as the one who's um she's looking after Kong now. Also, and by the way, the characters that like Tom Hiddleston and Brie Larson never showed up again. I realized. So, Um, uh, she is the character now who's acting on behalf of Kong and Godzilla. Basically, she's taken over Serizawa's role spiritually and figuratively, not figuratively, literally. Even though I'm saying what I mean is because they didn't meet, but that now she's taken over as trying to protect both Kong and Godzilla's role in their keeping the Hollow Earth and and surface world safe. Godzilla primarily is doing this in here. We see he's going around, often taking out certain titans. By the way, there still seems to be some titans, or I can't tell for sure if there's implying that he's killing all the titans or not, or if he's just only killing ones that are threats. That's the one confusion I have on that. Meanwhile, Kong is down on the down on the Hollow Earth exploring, primarily seemingly looking for like family members, trying because he's still kind of living by himself still. And much like his life on Skull Island, he's often under threat from other monsters. In this case, in the beginning, we see a pack of some kind of ravenous, almost canine, but really they had some weird teeth and going on and stuff. They were chasing him away, and it seemed to be something that was reoccurring because he sets a trap for these ones actually, and kills them, kills many of them, and scares the rest off. So he's down there living his life. And Actually, I should go back to Dr. Andrews a minute. Yeah, Dr. Andrews is I think there's a point here, plot point two, where she's trying to talk with some. We keep good rapport with the government and talk, going through media interviews to get people to try and keep the government from going down there and just basically probably killing off anything in the Hollow Earth that could be a threat to them, razing it to the ground. I suspect they were talking about, if I recall correctly. And uh, yeah, and so back to Kong though, we go ooh, so I was watching part. So Godzilla and Kong in here obviously he's trying to stay apart from each other, and uh, uh Dr. Andrews is trying to keep them apart too, so they don't fight each other again, because they basically just ended on a truce in the last one. So the threat that starts happening here, though, is there's actually twofold part here. So Jaya is starting to see some kind of images and messages in her head. She thinks she's going crazy, and then Kong, meanwhile, discovers another level of the Hollow Earth. Yeah, she's seen like visions. Right. So the twofold story here is Jaya is feeling like she's not getting along with living on Earth, and she's always drawing these weird symbols, and she thinks she's going crazy. And meanwhile, Kong is what do you call it? Discovers this new area and goes down to the ends up going down to this new level to she was down there. I just should go back one moment two again. There's a character named Trapper that's introduced in here, and he's the other. So we have him and that guy named Hayes from the last one who helped figure out what was going on with the corporation that made Mecha Godzilla. And they're going to be the other two main focal point. And Trapper, well, not focal, the other characters in it. And Trapper's in here as he's a veterinarian, but he focuses now, he works for Monarch. And there's a point in the movie where he's helping Kong because he gets like a broken tooth. And he comes to the surface world because he knows they can help him somehow. So that's Trapper's introduction there. And they replaced Kong's tooth with this. It's really neat. They're really going full on into this with the technology. So the main point of the story comes to a head with Kong going down to actually I gotta go back in. When this new Hollow Earth area opens up first, before Kong even discovers it's open, a new threat comes forth. We don't see him yet, and it destroys one of their Monarch bases that they were using to monitor Kong. Fortunately, Andrews wasn't there, and so her friends get killed there, and then they go down to investigate and discover that new area. Kong finds out about it around the same time, and then they go down to a new level to explore. Um, At this point, though, Kong ends up being split from the group as he meets a where is that part? He meets a group. He meets a young other ape who's being chased by these other ones that we see are rather aggressive and nasty and kind of like I think the word like emaciated looking. Is that the right word? Kind of like that emaciated because they just look really horribly malnourished and stuff. And Kong beats those guys up and then he starts going with the other one to I think to find where the troop is. Yeah, that's right. They try to get him there. Let's see. So Kong, yeah, it looks like Kong leads. I was trying to follow how this worked, but Kong essentially is leading back to this ape's home, and I don't think he's realized though it's going to be the same one of these aggressive other apes that attacked and try to kill Kong. But while they're doing that, Jaya and Andrews and the other two are trying to following ruins and clues that they find here that leads to where more Iwi tribe members are, like the main hub of them, live down below. So while that's happening, Kong finally meets up with. We finally get to our villain of the film, which is another. So the young one that Kong meets and this villain are both like orange colored ones, and they never really explain why. Because my initial thoughts that I kind of brought up when I did trailers reviews for the trailers for these is they remind me of orangutans, but no, they still like look like gorillas, especially the young one. They have all the facial expressions of a and designed to look like a gorilla from Africa, not orangutan, which I think live in Asia. I don't know my animal stuff with that anymore. But so we meet this new uh villain, and him and Kong have a fight, have it out in a fight. At first, Kong was actually doing okay with. And at first, the fight is a little back and forth, where this one's much more limber and fast compared to Kong's more like he's more of a beefy looking guy, but he's not terribly slow or anything. Like we saw him go up against Godzilla, who's also quite fast for a very muscular lizard. But this one, so this Scar King, one of my other things is this is a minor gripe, but they give him a lot of human characteristics in here, and his main one is he's very sadistic, um, very abusive to the other apes, and there's like a whole bunch of them that he lives among, and uh, the and we find out his strength of controlling them. Though this is one of also interesting point is he has a monster, a reptilian ice monster under his control. This is a weird one of the weirdest parts of the story that I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around is he has some kind of little icicle shaped thing. It's like this, the length of his finger, a little longer. So it like holds it in his hand, and when he holds it and he exerts his will, like he's like it's like connecting through his thoughts somehow. He can subject the ice monster, which I think is called Shimu. Let me see here. Uh, oh wait a minute, did I call it Shimu? Yeah, Shimu. Shimo, maybe. I'm gonna call it Shimo. And Shimo's design, by the way, is one of my favorites in this series. I like how well they do it. It's basically a very white scaled dragon. It completely walks on four legs, and has a lot of icicle like things similar to Godzilla's, but you can tell it's designed to be more of a dragon look, where Godzilla looks more like I always thought of his face as kind of a reminds me a bit of a snapping turtle and an alligator combined. Oh yeah, that's right. They do have alligator snapping turtles, something like that. So this Scar Kong, I think they call him. Uh, uh, Asuko. Wait. Uh, let's see. Wait a minute. Where did I show that? Oh no, it is called Scar King. Okay. This one's called Scar King, and yeah, so as like I said, he's controlling the Shimo, and he and instead of trying to fight Kong in a fair match and killing him, he uses Shimo to try to take out Kong, and luckily Kong's having that axe with one of the Godzilla dorsal fin on it that he found from his old home like a lair where his kind, where some other kind. Well, no, these other apes are, I guess, are kind of like his kind. But I just keep thinking they're different because Scar King looks a lot different. But maybe he's like a like kind of like a, if you thought of a white, what do you call it, albino type ape of other animals. But anyways, Kong saves himself by using that his dorsal his axe to protect himself, but because of the power, the amount of output like the Shimo can do, it also gets his whole arm, and he ends up getting severely injured. And with the help of the young one called, I think it's called Suko, his name is Suko. Kong has to retreat from fighting with Scar King, and uh, and get away. And then Scar King sends some other apes to try and bring him back or kill him or whatnot. So while we do that, we shift back to we shift back to Andrews and the others, and they uh the Iwa, they have an Iwa like priestess or leader there who after like meeting with meeting with Jaya, lets the others come in, and then they show them her these special hieroglyphic message stories of their past. They explain something that what happens here is they basically need Jaya's help. The messages she's been receiving were meant to go to her, and she is there to. They need her help to because they know about Scar King's problem. Yeah, is that how that works? They know about Scar King being a threat, and they want her to help with because she can awaken Mothra. And this is where I'm getting a little my major story point of I have beef with this is they really uh go in all in on this chosen one business with Jaya. It's right to the point of saying, oh, they knew that one day one of their members from Skull Island would be able to awaken Mothra. And I just thought that was hitting too close to home. I would have just liked if they said they knew that one of their Ewok members would have the right genes, so to speak, to be able to do it. But the thing with the Skull Island was like, okay, it seems it's a little over the top there. But uh, meanwhile, we have to switch back to Godzilla. Godzilla doesn't do nothing in this film. He's gonna come help. He senses because of this shaft that opens. So the Scar King and the Iwa and the other Iwa tribes are in another level of the place, and because it opened up between that level and it's the one that Kong was in, which seems to be much closer to the surface. This uh uh Godzilla didn't know Godzilla wasn't worried about this threat until now. He seems to be able to sense specifically Shimo, but he realizes apparently that he's not strong enough because while the other events are happening with Kong and Andrews and Jaya, he's going around getting himself more powerful. He starts by attacking a nuclear power plant and absorbs all that up. And then on top of that, he goes and takes out one of the other Titans on his level, who somehow her this is like some serpent type named Tiamat is is able to power him when he kills that serpent and goes into her lair, and whatever kind of energy that Tiamat was producing, like in his nest, uh, Godzilla also absorbs, and that's where the pink color comes from that we see in the trailers and in the movie. Now, he by absorbing this other Titan's power, he's really soups himself up so that he's prepared to take on Shimo. Interestingly, too, he also I forgot that part of that story with the where Scar King has it where Scar King once before tried to go to the surface world and wanted to make that like his territory. The story explains it in an almost weird way, like, oh, he wants to rule over it, and like it kind of sounds too human again, but it makes sense in a way. Like he might want to just say, oh, I'm the king of this of this area, I can take over this territory. Like he wants to just expand territory, like a it's colonial type stuff. It's like animal, like it makes sense on an animal level too, in a way where he's like, okay, I can or the surface level and uh you know I don't know if he meant like it meant like he would like take over the other titans. I don't know. I guess you could. I guess with Shimo's power, I guess that it's kind of the intent is that the Kongs themselves, while very ferocious in combat, like with physical combat, Scar King and Kong, they know they can't fight stuff like Godzilla or Shimo or others without help. So that's why Scar King's got Shimo's help. It probably can. It seems pretty much like the strongest Titans there are. And I also specifically, now that I just kind of pieced this together in my head. They talk about how Kong, the Godzilla creatures, were his main, who have always they said before the main adversaries to Kong, to like the apes, uh, uh, were the only thing standing in the Scar King's way in the past, and he was defeated. And then they kind of like imprisoned. They imply that he was imprisoned down there somehow, and I guess it does work in a way because he's in an area where a part of the Hollow Earth where there seems to be no entrances to the surface except where the Iwa are, but they have some special force field thingy going on that's concealing their location. Primarily, I think, from where so Scar King can't find it. So they're trying to make sure he can't go to the surface world with Shimo and cause problems. So he's just been sitting around waiting for thousands of years, apparently, to go to, for advantage to get back to the surface. Which at first too I thought was a little weird. After watching some of the Monarch movie, it seems to imply that, that if you're living down here, the creatures living down here don't age the same as they do up there. Because the Kong himself, you can tell like he's after living on Skull Island for like his whole life, like so it's been over 50 years since he was a little guy, and maybe he's been around. No, see, did they show him? I think they're implying that Kong here is probably like a century old, but now, as far as that's really good for him. But like him living on the surface level, he's become looking like he's reaching just just past his prime a little bit. But I bet if he lives down here, his age would be slowed down. His old age would be slowed down now. And this is the implication with Scar King that he's been around for a long time, and because the aging process is very different, reduced drastically in the Hollow Earth, any of the Hollow Earth areas. um, so this story now comes to a head here where when Kong retreats with Suko, I think his name was again, and he goes back, finds where the Iwa tribe is. One of the other members follows them, and then reports back to Scar King where that is. Which this is the opportunity Scar King has been waiting for, and he gets. So he starts marching out with a group of his followers and with Shimo especially, and he rides it like a mount into battle, literally. They have like chains and stuff made of like not really chains, they're probably made of bone or something. And he's got that thing and it keeps attached to his. He also fights with a whip. So he just like Kong, he likes to fight with a weapon. Where Scar King has a whip made of some kind of skeleton of another animal. I don't know how he's keeping it together. He must have some kind of I don't know where he made rope from, but I guess it's possible. And he has that thing that controls Shimo on the end of it, and so he's riding it to the Iwa tribe. Meanwhile, the Iwa tribe is getting ready to have Jaya help wake up Mothra. They've probably been waiting all this time to get her awake, and this part was a little confusing. Like, did they expect Mothra to be able to help protect them against Shimo? I didn't quite get that. But Mothra's point in here is going to be to help with reconciling Kong and Godzilla here later. But so at this point, what happens too is Kong gets a neat upgrade of his own in this movie, in that he's uh, they uh, they built a I don't even remember why they said they built it again, but they built this exoskeleton thing that goes on his hand, and it's very Iron Man esque stuff. It's gigantic and made us just to work with him. Plus, it can help with his frostbite apparently. And that trapper guy knew the trapper. He make it. Anyways, he ends up bringing it there and putting it on Kong's hand because he's not able to use it from the frostbite from Shimo. And at that point too, like him and Jaya both like come to the conclusion, hey, I need Godzilla's help. So like at the same time, Godzilla's getting ready, Kong knows ready, and everything's like just come together in a way that's just very wibbly wobbly, but it works. And so Kong goes to the surface through one of the portals and ends up in Egypt. And Godzilla can sense him pretty much right away. And Kong kind of like, hey, here I am. Even though like Godzilla's like 1,000 miles from him, he knows right away where he is. And they have a brief fight there actually and destroy all the pyramids. And this is where Mothra and Jaya with her, they come and stop the fight, and it's kind of like through. I don't know how they do it. It's like Jaya's talking to Godzilla also, and they're like, it's very, it's very contrived in a way that it works, especially because Mothra's there, and we know that Mothra and Godzilla worked together before. Um, they stop the fight because Godzilla's just ready to take out Kong. He thinks Kong's there as a threat again, and either Kong's trying to talk to him at one point and say, "Hey, no, I need you to come with me down to Hollow Earth. There's a problem down here." And Godzilla knows that. That was the thing at first too. Godzilla like knows there's a threat, but he like wants to go after Kong anyways. Like you gotta have your priorities straight, Godzilla, which is why Mothra comes in and helps. So now we get near to the final part of the film, and uh, the fight starts with yeah. So yeah, Scar King finally arrives at the Iwa place, and uh, he's prepared to go to the surface world when Godzilla and Kong finally come back down together. And this first part of this fight was actually my favorite because they're in this area with this really weird gravity stuff. There's these enormous crystal things that seem to be also linked to something with the pyramids. I thought they meant maybe that they're trying to hint at the pyramids were built to be parallel above them. And these things mess around with the gravity there, and the fight is just everyone jumping around. Godzilla and Shimo and Kong and the other apes all jumping around on these crystallized platforms and stuff and fighting in midair. And Mothra comes in and actually is very helpful too by taking out most of those extra Kongs that Scar King has brought apes to as backup. And I really love this moment of the film actually, and I wish it had continued a little more. But we have to get to the surface world. We have to have a city destroyed in every Godzilla movie. I was actually trying to make a list. So we had like Honolulu, San Francisco, Boston, what else? Hong Kong, and he destroyed some part of Florida in the beginning. I forget what it was supposed to be. It was somewhere off the, not in the peninsula. Was it Pensacola? Can't remember the name. And so yeah, in this time, in the beginning too, Kong's is in Rome fighting with another monster in the beginning. So Rome gets trashed a bit too, and then now the pyramids near Cairo get just trashed. Cairo itself is relatively unfazed actually in this one. Godzilla comes up through like I think the Nile River, and he came through the Mediterranean. He was at the Mediterranean when Kong first came, and then he swims to the Nile River and comes out. But the city that gets wrecked the most in this one is Rio de Janeiro. Scar King ends up jumping into escaping into one of the portals, and to get to the surface world, and he this is one of the dumb things. He's like up there. He escapes the where is that? Let's see here. This is one of the dumb things with this part of the plot. Wait, how did he go in there? Hold on. I think it's just because the gravity changed. Let's see. I think he was just hoping Shima would beat Godzilla there. But so he ends up. Okay, so yeah, they end up in Rio de Janeiro, and this is where the final fight happens. Scar King is uses Shimo to like start destroying Rio de Janeiro, and apparently with the way she can fire ice in the sky, she's just changing the whole atmosphere. And the movie actually hinted at that she was the cause of the last ice age, and she just froze over the whole Earth, upper parts of the Earth, I guess, and caused the ice age. But we get a great fight here with a back and forth between uh, um, Shimo, Godzilla, and then Kong and Scar King. And by the way, Scar King at this point really, he's like, it almost becomes apparent that he knows he can't beat Kong at this point. Like he did really good in the first fight, but at this point, Kong's like figured out his game and his movements, and so he keeps trying to have Shimo help finish Kong off first. But then Godzilla's there helping most of the time to keep Shimo at bay. Um, the main problem here being though that Shimo is giving Godzilla a hard time. Even though Kong's doing really well, Godzilla's having a hard time. But Shimo's definitely like one of the biggest titans we had. Him, like her, and the I think it's supposed to be a she, and that one giant Muta, were the biggest ones we've had. And the problem keeps stemming from Scar King using that gem he's got to control her. So at the end, the Suko comes in, the little ape, and he has brings Kong's axe with him because Kong didn't have it at this point in the fight, and he breaks that. Does he break it? I think yeah, he ends up breaking it with the axe. He swings the axe, Kong's axe, and destroys that thing, which puts the advantage back to the others because Shimu, not feeling really pleased at being controlled for a long time by Scar King, just freezes him, and then Kong gets the finishing move on just smashing him into pieces, and that's the end of him. So uh, and then we get the final parts of this movie have where we had a conflict earlier on that I didn't bring up because it's almost cute, but it just wasn't part of the main plot that I want remembered. But he Andrews and Jaya is worried that Jaya's going to stay with her people down there, and but Jaya and her say, "No, you're my mother. I'm going to stay to you." It's very kind of cute in a way. It's and uh the final thing and the final scenes of it have Kong symbolically going back to the other tribe, the apes where Kong Scar King was controlling, and he with Shimo and shows the others like, hey, I won, you guys are safe, and the film ends, I think, right there. Right? Is that how it ended exactly? That was the last scene. Yeah. Let me see here. Oh yeah, and then Godzilla. The last scene with Godzilla is that apparently he's turned Rome into his like land lair because he goes back and earlier after he beat that one snake, that other thing, he was sleeping in the Colosseum, and at the very end it shows him going back over there and taking a well-earned nap. Like it's not like in the first one where he just goes back in the water, and we thought I always was thinking he sleeps underwater. Like that's how they showed it in the old movies, but Oh yeah, so at the end it shows Kong come back with Shimo, and he's like, okay, yeah, he's like, so I was worried like it's this is a nice moment for Shimo too because she's been being abused through that thing, and Kong is having her like a almost like a pet, and he's like rubbing her neck and saying, no, it's okay, and so he had a good moment there where Shimo will is not being mistreated anymore. So I really enjoyed that for that animal. I'm glad this Titan didn't have to be killed. Every other monster that Godzilla's had, he's always killed them. King Ghidorah was the one that made the most sense. That thing was gonna take over the surface world because it was similarly to Shimo. Ghidorah could change the environment, and in this case too, it's Shimo. Uh, uh, um, uh, no, I was saying Ghidorah is like an invasive species. Is all I was gonna try and say. But anyways, uh, I always felt a little bad in that case. This thing too with the Mutos from the first film that they had Godzilla was gonna kill them, but like they didn't seem like he was something he didn't. He wasn't out to kill them because they were he was gonna eat them or anything. He just but it became a point of the film where that was kind of a weak point I thought. Where the film it's just like we want and we want him to win because if there was a male and a female if they bred there'd be hundreds of those things. So they made that the focal point of that one, but it's like okay, are these things that destructive to people? And in general, they weren't, but they made the threat existential for us because they could emit these electromagnetic pulse type things that would render our society as we know it useless. We'd be back in the Stone Age, literally, because nothing else would work. So, on that part, they made the story necessary to kill the Mutos. But and with Kong on Skull Island, those Skull Crushers were always aggressively going after him. So in that case, he always had to defend himself from them. So I understood that part. Like it's almost like he just needed to be moved to a new area where let those Skull Kings, live there on their themselves. Uh, but with Shimu here, I'm glad they didn't kill this one. It just ends up like it basically takes their side, Godzilla and Kong's, once they stop Scar King. I think Godzilla even like almost talks to him like, "Hey, you're free now. Help us." So even though it really once Scar King is once Scar King is gone, controlling him, he's not much of a threat anymore. Even to Kong, really. So that's my review. I would give this like an 8 out of 10. And I get my two main points I started at the beginning is the fight at the end felt a little short, and um the thing with Gyra being the chosen one, just they were kind of going into that a little too much for me. But other than that, I really enjoyed the story here with Jaya and Dr. Andrews, her mother, trying to worry like she's worried now because Jaya's now becoming an adult soon. She's probably supposed to be 16 or so. So she's worried she's gonna, grow up and not have to grow up and go out on her own. And on top of that, the worst thing is when they find out more of her people are alive, she's worried she's gonna stay with them. And then the thing with Hayes, the guy from the podcaster guys, he's just down there trying to he wants to like the thing they hear. This was a point that bothered me a little bit too. Actually, is he wants to work with Monarch or work for Monarch, I believe, and he at the end he was talking with uh the guy named played by Kyle Chandler, uh and it implied that he was going to work for Monarch, but apparently they didn't let him in. And we see he's back to just working as a podcaster somewhere in the beginning, and now it's kind of hints at Andrews. I think she promised him in the beginning, it's like help me out here and figure out because he came in because he's the one who figured out the signals. That's what it was. He figured out the signals that because Jaya kept writing this stuff down, so he became the key to that part, and so he's gonna help probably work for Monarch now, and they have a little character moment with him though, where he's hoping to get famous by recording stuff about the Iwi people. But Trapper, that veterinarian guy, convinces him like, hey, if we let the surface world know about this, they're just gonna come in here and ruin this for these peaceful people. So they're doing that thing like, okay, these are these people who seem like primitive compared to us, and we should go in there and help them. And on top of that, and more importantly, why they want to go here is that place is this center of gravity thing that has this interesting crystallized stuff, kind of like when they found that other room where Kong is, and they don't want the surf. They're worried about people like corporations coming in there and exploiting it, so they and ruining their habitats and stuff for the sake of getting all that raw materials. So corporate greed and all that. I like those characters. The Trapper character is actually my favorite they've had in here too as a other character because they had that other guy, but the one who I didn't have that guy come back, who's from the other one who when they started going into the Hollow Earth stuff, he was the one who had the theory about Hollow Earth. Him and his I think he had a brother who they died off screen or before the film really, and yeah, Nathan Lind was his name. So he doesn't come back in this one. I was a little disappointed in that, but maybe he will in the next one. For all I know, really, because they have it when he's like a Hollow Earth theorist. He's probably just somewhere else on the. He could be. They could just easily say, "Oh, I was somewhere else while this plot was happening." So hopefully they could have him come back somehow. But these movies tend to not have that many reoccurring characters. Usually, like I'm glad they're doing that more well with the. But I feel like they're not going to probably have much more to do with. Uh, well, no, they could have Giant Andrews, I guess, come back by having them work with Kong again. But I kind of want to have another film now where we don't have as much going on with Kong. I'd like to see more Godzilla focused stuff again. These last two films really made Kong more the main character than anyone else, and Godzilla uh, wasn't. Well, Godzilla was still important, but it just wasn't focused on him as much. He got a lot less screen time in here overall. But so, anyways, where was I going with this? I'm just rambling about these movies in general. So, good movie. If you like monster action and stuff, and it has an okay story, better than all the others, I would say go watch this. Oh, also, side note, I kind of missed some of those other characters they had from King of the Monsters. They didn't have any of them come back. I kind of want to see a few of those people again. They were pretty good side characters in there, especially that one guy who was always had that line where like, "Oh, I record everything." So now I just gotta go watch Godzilla -1. I see people reacting to it, so maybe that came out. So I'm gonna watch that one of these days, and I'll be making a review of that one. I'll try not to ramble so much like I did with this one. I kind of just like going over the plot. It helps me think about what I want to say. So, decent threat with Scar King. I liked how they made him very his his mannerisms and characteristics were one of the best as a villain too. And the same with Ghidorah. They gave them very good, like, they're not just bland monsters. Scar King had a lot of personality there going on, and the Ghidorah monster version kind of did too. So I don't know what else they can go now with other threats though, because uh, I guess they have. I wonder if they'll just do another alien thing. Oh, that's right though. Actually, no, I forgot. Oh, the next movie I just thought of. That's right. They do another movie that focuses more on Godzilla. It probably should be Destroyer at some point, because they have the oxygen machine thing they try to use to kill Godzilla and Ghidorah in the King of the Monsters movie. So that means Destroyer should probably be coming up again in one of these movies. And I know I've said that before, and I just remembered it now. So anyway, that's all I got for today. So thanks for watching.